I don't need all those rules for myself.
I've got my shit so
I
streamlined.
know you do. I know you're so
Yeah,
anal.
I've literally got like thank you. Uh,
Welcome to Coffee Break Classroom, brewed for higher ed, where teaching meets good vibes. We're just two friends chopping it up. Here you can expect a blend of ridiculous classroom stories, a little educational research, and some practical teaching techniques. So grab your coffee, settle in, and let's talk teaching without the grading. Also, you'll notice that I'm wearing these snazzy headphones today. And
nice.
yeah, so that's because my mic was picking up your computer sound, but not this time.
No.
I know. So we haven't seen each other because you have been, oh, because we've both been on spring break, but I want to hear about your new niece quickly.
Nephew.
Oh, are you serious? I thought she was having a girl.
No.
Okay.
I
Please tell
don't
me.
I don't even know if I ever told you. Just baby. Oh
Okay,
no, he's
just
good.
baby.
I mean, I don't know what you would expect from like a 3-day year old. Like
No, but like,
it's
is she good? Was it? Did everything go as
it's good.
expected?
Everything's fine. All fingers and toes as they say. So
Are you good with
um
babies?
I'm fine with babies. I'm kind of like not this this is gonna be in a recording forever. Um
You love your nephew.
I do. No, that's not in the question. I'm just kind of like I'm ambivalent about babies. So it's just like I got there and they're like, "Oh, do you want to hold them?" And I'm like, "No, I'm good." But like when my sister who because there's a crying child every 2 hours,
Yes.
like needs to like go
Sleep.
do stuff or needs a break or go walk, I'm like, yeah, I'll take him. Like, and I would take him and just hold him, and he would sleep on my chest for a couple of minutes while she went to go do whatever she needed to do. So,
Ah, okay.
like I will hold the baby. I just don't need to hold the baby. I don't.
Okay.
I don't have a need. There is not something deep within me that is like must hold baby. Um,
Fair enough. Fair enough.
yeah,
So,
it's my. I think it's that kind of like. I have this conversation with students at the beginning of class where I always feel awkward at the beginning. But like I am an introvert, which
yes.
doesn't come across like in a lot of
Mm-hmm.
situations that I'm in when you look at what I do.
True.
And I tell my students that the reason I end up in that spot is because I'm like the mom friend where it's just like I don't want to do it for myself, but if somebody else needs it taken care of, like I got it. Like
You were so good about that. Mm-hmm.
if I want ketchup, like I don't need ketchup. But if somebody else wants ketchup, I will go get it. Like if I need it, I will like leave it alone and not bother anybody. But if somebody else needs it, I'm on it.
Okay.
So
So
I,
my,
I think it might be the same thing with the baby. I don't need the baby, but if
but if
somebody
so,
else needs me to have the baby, I got it.
so now that my children are grown for the most part, and don't appreciate this anymore, I love babies. Like there is, and I don't. Obviously, my children are not old enough to have babies or even think about having babies. But like, I just want to eat a baby. Like I know that sounds psychotic, but like oh, like baby tummy. Oh my god, it's awesome. I miss that, and but I don't ever like I had the appropriate number of babies, which was two at once. And so that was enough babies. That was enough babies.
Yeah.
It was.
It's so funny as we're having this conversation. I was listening to episode 3 and I was like, we need a skip intro button. Like we
I think their intro part is fun though. I
No, I
know.
know, but I'm just like, I don't know if there's people that are coming here being like, I want to get to work, which is like my hat. Like we were talking about this last time where it's just like, I am very task oriented. So it's
You
really hard
are.
for
You have
me.
a checklist.
Yeah, it's really hard for me to just fit chat and being like, people want the knowledge. Like, so I thought it would be really funny to have like a skip intro, like a skip recap button like
That is
Netflix where
funny.
you can just
Yes, we
like
got
jump
it.
straight into when we started. Yeah.
That's true. That's true. On that note, welcome to Coffee Break Classroom, everyone.
It's brewed for higher ed.
It is. It is. Well done. Well done. So today we're going to be talking about the syllabus and all that that entails. So I don't know. It we're towards the end of our semester, so this felt a little disjointed to me. But looking forward to the spring and the or to the summer and the fall semester, we're really only a couple weeks away from welcoming new students.
Yeah. And that's funny that you say that too, because I'm thinking about Oh, like, well, we're close to the summer session too.
Yeah. Did I
So
not say that? I
yeah,
meant that. I'm sorry.
I think you said fall,
Oh,
which I was like, we're not close to the fall, but I'm not going to
no.
correct you.
Some
And I was like, well, we're
people,
close to summer.
yes. We have colleagues who do all of their fall planning though in June. Like they're ready to go by the end of June. When they leave, when we go off contract, they're ready for the
Oh,
fall.
100%. I mean, I think I'm one of those people that will make the changes as I go, as it's needed, and
Yep.
then it's like ready. So,
Yes.
but yeah, we're going to talk about the syllabus, or as some people call it, a course information sheet. Is right. It's everything that you put in, all the rules, right, and guidelines that you need to put there. And I know that you've done a lot of kind of work in that area in terms of presentation and professional development.
Yeah.
So I didn't know if you wanted to kind of lead with some of those guidelines and we can kind of talk about it. I have actually a
Yes.
couple of mine pulled up so I can like talk
Ooh.
about them as examples.
Excellent, excellent. So I was writing down my thoughts before we got on today, and I was thinking back to what we, I think, talked about last pod, which was you have to start with your why. So I think anytime you're developing something new, whether it's a new course or a new document or a test, that you should think about what it is your goals are, other than here's the syllabus that was used for last semester, whether it was developed by you or another instructor. But at the end of day one, or we usually end up, our students have access to our syllabi before day one. This is like your first opportunity to interact with students. So with that said, what do you want to bring to it? So I think, well, let me ask you, what do you think? What do you think about when you're sitting down to write a syllabus?
Oh, like it
Or
start
expand on what I just said.
yeah, no. I think starting with a why is like definitely something that clicked with me. But when I got hired at where we work, right, I was 3 days notice before classes started. Like I got hired
Nice.
on a Friday, classes started on a Monday,
That's so
and
crazy.
like I got handed course information or syllabi, right,
Mm-hmm.
course information sheets from the previous instructors, and was just told do something like this, and I'm like, okay.
Mm-hmm.
And then like ended up going to like a workshop over the summer that was about kind of building these. And I think in the second year faculty series, you had done some more stuff there, and that's where I really started to build in that why
Mm-hmm.
part to this. So I think I have right on the second page here, just starting with like physics is like the beginning of unlocking how the world works, and it's like in bold and it's there and it's
So
like the first thing.
exciting.
It is right. And
Yes.
I kind of introduce what the class is there for, why students want to take it. Like this is laying the groundwork for future science and engineering courses with like these concepts. Like my goal is for you to help you see and appreciate how physics works in the real world and affects the real world. And like that's right there at the very beginning of just telling
Mm-hmm.
them like this is why you're in the course.
Totally. Totally. Um, I think that we teach at a school that is majority minority and student body, almost I think close to 55, maybe 58%
Mm-hmm.
female, 40% first gen students. So I think a lot of our students, um, and not everyone has those proportions, but all faculty, whether they know it or not, are teaching to students who are scared on day one. And they might be great students, but like physics is intimidating to a lot of students. Like,
100%.
yeah, like, and not just physics. I think this is something that goes across disciplines. There's someone in your class who is a little nervous and they don't know you and they don't know who's going to be in their class. So I think there's a lot of trepidation on the first day. So I think it's a good opportunity in not only to get students excited about what they will be learning, but get students to know that you like care about them.
Mm-hmm.
And if you are hopefully an instructor who cares about your students as humans and also their success, then also I think you have to think about like, how would they know? If your student
Mm-hmm.
picked up a syllabus, how would they know that you, Dr. Ben, cared about them as humans? And I've read some of your syllabi, so I know you have language in there that kind of supports that. So, do you have
Yeah.
an example?
Yeah, I was gonna say I right on the bottom of the first page, right? I have like a statement that's like, I want to be supportive of your learning and growth. Like, reach
Mm-hmm.
out if you are unclear about anything, or if there is something you want to discuss. Like, email is a great way to reach out to me and other students to get a quick response. So, like,
Totally.
it's right there on the beginning, saying like, hey, like, reach out to me.
Yeah.
Um, and speaking of the why stuff too, right? Like, you asked me what I think needs to go in there. Like, when I sit down, what do I think about? And like, I feel like most people approach a syllabus is like, here's the assignments, here's when they're due,
Yep.
like, here's like what I am expecting of you, here's how it's going to be graded. Good luck.
Yes.
Right. And I think talking about the why for the course and really leading with that, but also like the why you're laying out the assignments the way that you're laying them out, right?
Totally.
So like, why are we doing homework? Why do we have exams? What is the purpose of lab? And just kind of setting that out there as well, right? So I
Yes.
have that organized in a way where I have like a major assignments and assessment section that's part of our template that we use. Um, and I have my practice assignment policies, and I go through and like just an opening paragraph, I just talk about why I have practice assignments. Like,
Right.
these are to practice the work that you do, that we do together in class. They're not graded, right?
Mm-hmm.
This allows you to learn without being punished by mistakes. It's practice for the test, like exclamation point. And like, I have stuff in there that's bolded that I want to draw their attention to,
Mm-hmm.
right? So they can see that and it jumps out at them rather than just being a wall of text. And then I've got a bunch
Oh,
of bullet points
yes.
with the
Mm-hmm.
specific details.
I think wall of text is super intimidating, and I don't think anyone wants to read wall of text. So
Absolutely not.
I'm going to come back to wall of text, but I wanted to pick up with what you were saying about your why. I
Yeah.
think that putting your why in like course policies that are specific to your class are super important. I think that course policies is an area where you have a ton of opportunity as an instructor. You can decide what is important to you and then express that in your course policies. Like, what are your values? Are you valuing the learning? So, you were talking about homework being a great opportunity to practice. So, you're valuing the growth and you're writing that explicitly. You can decide your flexibility on late policies, on late work. Some people have very good reasons that they don't accept late work, and some people have more lenient late work policies. I think my mother used to say, Denise, used to say to me, Amanda, it's not what you say, it's how you say it.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's 1,000% true. I think watching your tone is super important in this document where students don't know anything about you. So I think a couple years ago, I remember having a faculty member in a workshop, and she taught journalism. And she was like, journalism, it's really important professionally that we have deadlines. And if you
Mm-hmm.
don't have your stuff in by the deadline, it doesn't go out. Um, and we unpacked a little bit. And I think this is probably a good opportunity for us to do this too. But like,
Yeah.
maybe telling your students that it's like, not that you are an inflexible person who doesn't understand that sometimes learning management systems go down, or sometimes students have computer issues, right? It's like, this is why this policy is in place, and it is in place to support your learning because I want you to understand the norms of my discipline.
I think that's great to be able to communicate that, because that's the goal of the syllabus, is communicating like
Yes.
why, right? Like, then the
Yes.
why is a big part of it, because it also sets the expectations. Like, this should
Mm-hmm.
be setting the expectations for students so they know what to expect when they get into the classroom.
Totally, totally. I also think it's worth considering that you should think about your most vulnerable students when you are writing your syllabus. Because if you establish policies and procedures that will support their learning, then Your students who are less vulnerable, they're going to be fine. And when I say your most vulnerable students, I'm talking about first generation students, international students who have language barriers,
Hmm.
is English as a second language learners, students who take the bus, like students who don't have access to internet at home, students for whom like it's literally not an equitable playing field for them to use a word that makes people uncomfortable, but it's not. And I don't know. I want you to say a little bit more about that, but I have strong feelings about this.
Oh yeah, I mean I agree with you, and I think I probably have a little bit in there as well. Like I have some stuff in terms of like I recommend that you start assignments early so you have time to ask questions,
Mm-hmm.
but I also have in there that like deadlines are provided to give you structure in completing the work
Yes.
and to create an association between what we do in class and what I want you to practice. But like since this isn't graded, like there's no late penalty, like I have that language in there as well,
Mm-hmm.
like there is flexibility, or like here I have some flexible deadlines where something's due but they have like a 2 week kind of grace period,
Yep.
that's set up, and just communicating that aspect because we know that sometimes like
Things
that
happen.
things are going on in your real life that you have to deal with.
Yeah. So during COVID, I remember I was Zooming with a student, and this was like the first month that COVID began. And she was hunched over a computer, and in the background, I could see her mother, who was trying to teach Spanish on another computer to her students behind her, right? And then she had a younger brother who was like running through the room, and there was no, obviously no one there to assist him with his own schooling. So it was the first time that I got a peek. And again, like this was a student who wasn't, I would consider my most vulnerable students. And just watching what was happening in her home it made me think differently about the, like, does it matter to me if you know all of you, if you complete your igneous rock lab by Saturday, like,
Right.
or do you need an extra couple of days because there's, and it was like this the whole time, right? Like the whole time I've been
Hmm.
teaching, it's been like this, and much more complicated for a lot of our students. And so I just remember getting off of that Zoom call and being like, at the end of the day, what is important, like what, and I do think like you were talking about deadlines being structured for your learning is super important because students do need time to like
Hmm.
learn things and digest and like see the integration between units, but at the same time I also think we as instructors could like get over ourselves a little bit.
100%. Yeah, for sure.
For sure. So one thing that I do for like those students that I consider more vulnerable is I go through my syllabus and I try to remove, or if not remove, then explain jargon in there.
Mm-hmm.
So like I will talk about office hours. Like students don't necessarily know what office hours are. They don't know when they should go to office hours. They don't know what to expect at office hours. They don't know. I had a student who thought that those were hours that you could not be disturbed. That was, and so that's the opposite, right? So I
It
think,
was
yeah.
very funny. Like I had a student like during COVID, like who was like, "Wait, you have an actual office?" And I was just like, because I had office hours listed, and I was just like, I was like, "Oh wait, yeah." Like there, what office was there like
Right,
for the
right.
like 2
Virtual
years, right?
office hours. Exactly. So one of my kids had a professor last semester. I thought this was really clever. And their homework assignment was, I think they had 2 weeks to do it. They had to go visit every one of their professors' office hours and have them sign a form. And they had to
Okay.
go prepared with like a question or two, which is super intimidating. But she knew where all of her professors' offices were.
Yeah.
And she met them each one on one in the first couple of weeks. And she was like so annoyed that she had to do it. And when she told me, I was like, that is the best idea, though. She's like,
I
it's really
actually
not.
call mine. student help hours. Like I don't
Yes.
even have an office hours in my syllabus. Like I
Mm-hmm.
have student help hours listed.
That's really good.
Um, because I also don't even do them in my office. Like it is
You
so
don't.
rare that I do my office hours in my office because I'm usually in a classroom, like parked in a classroom where students can come and like get help and like
Mm-hmm.
just sit and work for an hour if they need the space to do that.
Absolutely.
But yeah,
Yeah.
eliminating jargon, explaining what that means.
Yeah. I think that sometimes we take for granted because we have survived the educational system that everyone knows what we mean by like, oh my god, like our tutoring center, right, is not called the tutoring center, it's called the TAC. But like how
For now,
intuitive
it's getting
for I
changed.
know, I know. But like
Okay.
because no one knows what the TAC is, but people know what
Oh
tutoring
yeah.
is. But anyway, let's see. You were talking about the block of text that a
Oh yeah,
syllabus.
yeah.
So one thing that I do to break up, I know you have a table of contents in your syllabus, which I think is really good.
Just because it's so long. Like I think just the length of it in general, like it's just
It's
it's its own
oppressive.
topic of conversation.
Do
But
you,
yeah, how to deal with the length of it.
do you remember? Well, when I
Um,
went to college, like syllabi were like a front and maybe a back of like a page of a page, and that was it.
really?
Oh yeah,
That's I wow, okay.
totally. There were no policies that like we had to disclose to students. It was like you have a student handbook. And so like
Well, even
yeah.
still, that's like 3 pages of this right now, right? Like
I
I'm looking at
know.
the one I have open right now, it's 10 pages.
Oh, I know,
The
it's
last,
insane.
yeah, the last 3 pages are like there's an academic honesty policy, which I added a note beforehand that like I understand there's many factors that contribute to cheating, but like it's important that it's like what we grade is representative of your content. Like I
Hmm.
have a whole extra note there. But I actually
Totally.
think that would be a good topic for an episode at some point to just talk about cheating, I think.
Cheating. Oh, I saw you
Hold on to
added
that.
that to
I
the
added that to the
list.
to our list.
I saw this
Um,
morning.
but then there's like just 2 pages of like here's all the stuff for
Oh, you froze.
students to have access to, and I don't think they ever look at this at all.
That's what, yes, I have something in my little notes here for you. But one of the things that I do is I will find images of diverse scientists and I
Mm.
with like cool quotes that they said and put them to break up the text. So like I have, and not even just diverse scientists, but diverse leaders. So like I have folks who have physical disabilities, who are like Stephen Hawking's is in one of my syllabi. I have other scientists, and because I think that representation matters, because I am like 90%, I look like 90% of what students have seen in front of a classroom for their entire lives is a white lady, right? But scientists, as we know, are not just well, in the case of science, they're usually old white men, but they're not anymore because
We're working on it.
we're working on it every day.
I actually love that you do that, and that's nothing I've ever thought of. So I think that would be fun for me to go through and do as well.
Totally.
I have a big banner at the front that's just pictures of
Oh.
like different like physics type situations or
Mm.
engineering situations. So each of my courses has its own specialized banner
Oh,
that I
cool.
put at the top of my course information sheet
Mm-hmm.
that has different pictures related to the content we're going to be learning,
That's
which is like a little fun thing for me.
that's super fun. I like that. So I have a confession, and that is that. So I know that you've seen me talk about the syllabi multiple times, but the reason is because probably 4 or 5 years ago, I was going through some professional development and they talked about the syllabus and I read it again, my own syllabi for the first time. And what I discovered is that my syllabus had become like a repository for the things I was going to make sure that students never pulled on me again. And so I had past tense now. Lots of things in capital letters, underlined, bold. Like a good example of that would be I used to give quizzes. Well, no, I one time gave a quiz, and while the students were taking the quiz, I kind of meandered out into the hallway just to kind of look around. And what do you think I found?
Another student in the hallway.
Yeah, a student
Yeah.
like studying the notes for the quiz that I was giving. And it infuriated me because I was,
But like they were going to be late and then do the quiz while they were still studying and they were going to show up late.
yep, and take the quiz.
Yeah.
So, one of my course policies for several years was once the quiz is collected, you cannot take it ever again, like pretty much. And it would be distributed at the beginning of class, and when it was done, it was done. And yeah. So that was a good example of me overcorrecting for something that was not an
Mm,
actual problem, but I was going to extract justice for the students who were there on time and taking their quiz rather than trying to get away with something in the hallway.
yeah.
So if you're not careful over time, it turns out your syllabi will be a whole bunch of like thou shalt not. They are the 10 commandments of thou shalt not show up late to class, thou shalt not turn in late assignments. And I
And like there's such an easy way to fix that language too, right?
yes.
Like it's just like
Yes.
rather than saying like, oh, if you miss 3 labs, you're gonna fail. It's just
Mhm.
being like you like it is important that you show up to lab. Like you should
Yes.
attend, like plan on make sure you are attending at least like 11 out of 14 of them. And then saying like there's plenty of opportunities to make them out up throughout the semester. Like just please let me know and whatever.
Yeah.
Right?
Well, yes. And that like it's important. I think it's also a good spot to be like classroom community is really important to me.
Mhm.
So I want you to be there in lab because I want you to collaborate with your classmates.
Mhm.
And yeah, so there's you don't have to necessarily give up rigor to not be a jerk. There is a balance in there, which is not to say that I don't still sometimes have moments where I am not my best self. Um, Occasionally it happens,
But
but
it doesn't need to be in writing.
it doesn't need to be in writing. It doesn't. It doesn't. That doesn't need to be the first thing that a student reads from their instructor by any
Yeah.
stretch, for sure.
Do we
So
want to pivot back to breaking up the wall of text? Did you have more stuff for
well,
that?
so I have a couple other things for the wall of text. Like I'll put a table in there. I will
Yeah.
definitely I put little graphs for like a pie graph maybe for how their grade is calculated just cuz it breaks up again the wall of text. But sometimes there's a lot of text and it's hard to break it up. So tell me about your first day of class. Do you go over your syllabus?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, and that's funny that you say that too, because like this semester we had a snow day on literally the first day of
Yes.
class.
Mhm.
And so
New
I was just
York.
like this on the syllabus day, like
Mhm.
I don't want to have to move, like I don't have to use my snow day insurance because I'm
Oh,
the kind of
okay.
person that
Yes.
builds snow day insurance into my topic schedule. I don't want to use my snow day insurance on the syllabus day.
Yes.
Like
Yes.
and so I just made it an email this year and like we
Okay.
didn't do it. And then somebody made a comment in some talk or conversation that I was at about they record it beforehand and put it on the learning
Oh.
management system, Brightspace.
Yep.
So I'm just like, that's brilliant. Like I can get a whole day back to the semester by just like
True.
having something pre-recorded on Brightspace and I can just send it out to students in an email and like they can watch it the same way that they can like read the syllabus on their own. Like it's like there.
True. But do you think they will?
I mean, I think a video like that I can break down into chunks. Like I can do like separate videos about each of the different things and they're
Okay.
short and then they can watch them is a lot more accessible than a 10-page document.
Oh, for sure. For sure.
Um, and I think I only spend like 30 minutes on it and then we use 20 minutes to kind of just get excited about physics, like stuff we were talking about in the hook episode one. And then in my later classes the students have had the earlier ones with me so they know how stuff works. Like
Mm-hmm.
I think in my like fourth semester class, the last one that they take with me, I just like I'm like it's the same thing, click next slide.
Yeah.
Like and we move on. Yeah.
So have you ever done I know it's so super cheeseball, but like a syllabus scavenger hunt where they like do in pair. Like, so I've done that sometimes because I want them to meet each other on the first day and
Yeah.
like know one other person. So sometimes I'll do that where I want them to know where my office hours are. I want them to know how many tests they're going to take. I want them to know what my late work policy is. Like, I pick five things, the five highlights. And it's not particularly like dynamic or creative, but it does. Sometimes by the end of the first week, I'm just like so done. Like, I'm exhausted because I feel like all you do the first week is read policies to students
Yeah.
that they're not going to remember.
And well, that's part of it too, is like I don't go over everything the first day. Like when I do
Okay.
go over stuff, I don't do
Oh,
everything
okay.
because I wait until it's relevant. Like I don't talk
Mm,
about some of my assignment policies or like the coding projects
cool.
until the first one is assigned. And then that's when I review those policies. So
Okay.
like the stuff that we do on the first day is only like the general things. And then like when we get
Gotcha.
close to our first exam, that's when I will go over the exam policies. Like I'll talk about it globally at the beginning, but I won't go through the details until it becomes actually relevant to our course.
That's very fun.
I actually haven't done a scavenger hunt.
No.
Like that's something that comes up all the time, and I feel weird about having to grade it or collect
Oh, I
it.
don't
And
do
I'm just like,
either.
yeah, I was like, I'm not going to do that.
No.
And so I feel weird about asking them to do something that has like not any meaning like towards the actual course content.
Totally. Totally. Speaking of which, so in people's policies sometimes, um, I think that faculty will make so much work for themselves, like
Hmm.
trying to control things. Like,
Hmm.
so I've seen where people are like, I will deduct 10% per class or per day or per whatever. And if you hand it in this way, I will deduct this percentage. And if you hand it in a hard copy and I want it electronic, I will deduct this. All you're doing is making work for yourself. Like,
Yeah.
calm down. Calm down. Like, the folks who, now I don't grade for attendance because, like, if they're there,
Me
yeah.
either.
So I mean, we'll talk about that in future episodes, but like, the idea of keeping track of absences or keeping track of participation or something, which participation is something that I guess we can unpack a little bit. It is problematic for me to grade for participation because I feel like it's such a, like, what participation looks like is like we have cultural norms as
A hundred
white
percent.
people about what participation looks like. I'm giving you a
Yeah.
second to process and respond,
No,
but like,
I don't. I no, I appreciate you giving me some airspace.
sorry.
No, you're good. I don't. Yeah, I that was like a big piece of when I've been doing presentations around grading policies, is just taking out participation and effort because it's like, who says what effort is, and
Totally.
like, unless you're like clearly defining that, and then in that case, like the expectations are there. But like if
Right.
you're just like have this off to the side and nobody knows what effort means, then like
Yes.
that's a whole different
Like, if you're
thing.
not
If you
sweating.
clarify, yeah, right, yeah, right. If you clarify to your students that like you must sweat for at least 5 minutes and ask a question during
Mm-hmm.
class, like then that is like fine. But still, that's a lot to keep track of. Like
Yes.
I keep track of attendance in my lab
Yep.
classes
Mm-hmm.
because I want to make sure that they're there.
Mm-hmm.
But then I'm like, well, I grade it when they submit it. Like so like I'm gonna know if they were there or not based on whether I have a
Totally.
lab done.
Totally.
It's just and I forget to do it because I just it's whatever
Because you're like in the
for me.
moment, you're present.
Right.
And so, yeah, I get that.
Right. And you often don't realize like how much engagement or participation there is in a class if you're not observing it like
Yes.
from the outside.
100%. Yes. Ooh, what's your late policy? I'm just curious. I have a
I
question.
have different late policies for different things.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but mostly I think the projects that I have set up um have the deadline. So like they usually will get a week or two before to work on it once it's assigned,
Okay.
depending on like the difficulty or like the breadth of class content that's going to be associated with it.
Yep.
And then I am very clear about even when I'm going to grade stuff. Like I have time in my calendar where I'm going to grade, and I even communicate that in here where like stuff will be graded within like 2 business days.
Yes. Ooh.
And like I even communication stuff as well. Like you can expect a response to an email like in this time frame, if it is received in the like normal daily
Yep.
hours. Like if I get it at midnight, it's not like I'm not going to be responding to it until sometime the next day.
No.
Because
Yes.
my stuff is so back to back. My schedule is so back to
Your
back that my
schedule
emails
is a
just
nightmare.
pile up. But I have days set aside for grading where I will sit through and do stuff. So, for example, if the deadline was Tuesday, then I will usually grade it Wednesday or Thursday.
Mm-hmm.
And then if students can even resubmit, and then I will then grade it again on that next Wednesday, Thursday schedule.
Okay.
And then the 2 weeks after the deadline is when stuff closes. So that's
Mm-hmm.
my late policy that I've been using.
Okay.
And then I will like do that last set of grading.
Gotcha. So I just wanted to compliment you on some of the language there because it's really like by setting expectations for what you are going to do in addition to what students are going to do, I feel like they see like class is more of a partnership and like you are facilitating things like rather than you will not respond to you will not send like some people are like don't send me emails late which like I don't understand like just don't freaking answer them until you get to work if you don't want to right but
100%.
right like calm down um but just showing students that you are accountable to them just the same way that they are accountable to you I think is super important.
Yeah.
So, what do you do? This is a setup question. What do you do when a student disappears for 2 weeks and then shows up in class?
Um, so honestly,
Yes.
usually nothing.
Yeah. Okay.
I like if they want to keep up with like I will let them kind of reach out to me. And I think it's a little bit of that partnership aspect of stuff where
Mm-hmm.
like I put in a lot of effort like to what I do. And I think I make it clear to students that I will meet them where they're at. So like if they're putting in effort engaging with the class, like I'm usually a little bit more responsive. If like
Yep.
I don't hear from them for 5 weeks, like I will sometimes reach out.
Yeah.
Like if somebody was like really engaged and disappeared, like
Sure.
I will check in on them. But
Mm-hmm.
if it's like somebody who never really like was doing anything
Mm-hmm.
and then is gone and then comes back, I'm like they're just doing their own thing.
Yep.
Like yeah. It depends on the vibe. Like I'm a very empathic person, so like I
Yes.
just kind of like pick up on the vibe of the student and like
Totally.
whether or not it feels like something is wrong or whether or not this is just how they operate.
Mm-hmm. Um,
So
so
I'm sorry for ruining your setups.
no, you that's fine. That gives me a chance to reply. So, when I have run workshops on syllabi in the past, without exception, there will be someone who is like, well, if a student comes back after 2 weeks, I will allow them to make up the work if they come and talk to me. And
Oh no, they can do it anyways.
yeah.
Like my stuff is set up where they can just do that. Like I
Mm-hmm.
don't have that problem.
And so I always counter that with being like, why do they have to come and talk to you? And they're like, because I just want them to know, I want to know what happened. And I'm like, but why? Why do you want to know what happened? Like it
Justify it. Justify why,
that's
right?
right.
Explain your trauma. Your personal trauma has to be
Yes.
good enough for me
Exactly.
to
That's
justify it.
exactly
Yeah.
what we do when we do that. We are commodifying student trauma. We are like, your trauma is you meet my unwritten threshold for acceptable levels of trauma to miss a week of class, and you do not. And I would just like to remind teachers that what happens to students outside of the classroom is none of your business unless they come to you with it. If you have created an environment where students feel safe coming and disclosing things to you, then that's one thing. And if you have not, then you have a consistent policy that you just apply, and it's not that serious.
I want to point out too, while we're talking about that, that like students who are in, oh gosh, I I don't know if minority is the right word, but I'm thinking about like female students
Yes.
are,
Mm-hmm.
or like students that are in like underrepresented populations, like at least in STEM. If we can talk about STEM, I can say
Totally.
underrepresented
Yes.
populations. Marginalized is maybe the word that I was wanted.
That's good.
They're less likely to ask for help and extensions. And there was actually a paper that we had found when we were
Yes.
writing our grant that like 37% of students or like female students were less likely to ask for an extension than like
Yes.
their male colleagues. Like there
Yes.
was some amount less, right?
Totally. Totally.
Which is wild.
It's a big ass number. It's a big ass
Right.
number.
Because white men have the audacity. And
Oh,
I
so much audacity every day. Oh my God.
I wanna jump back a little bit to
Yeah.
the conversation that we were having about will they actually read it, right?
Yeah.
Would they actually watch the video?
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's kind of the benefit of breaking it up into smaller parts is like they will watch it if they need to or if they need that information. So like
Mm-hmm.
if that's something they need to go find, it's there. And like you can direct them to it. But like they don't, and if you break it up into chunks, they don't need to watch the whole thing. They can go look at the assignment
True.
policies video to like answer the questions that they need to. But I will say if like a student has a quick question, don't just send them to the video. It's so much nicer for you to just like answer them in person. Like if
Yes.
it takes 2 seconds to say like this is what it is, like you should do that because that's going to build a better connection than saying like go watch the video.
Or it's in the syllabus. I've heard people say that
Right.
like a million times. It's in the syllabus. Well, yes, it is, but there is a human being standing in front of you and you don't know what else is happening in that human being's life.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I have heard, and I don't know if I'm going to take this part out. So students sometimes, so I, this semester, I had a student who missed several days because he was moving and like he thought it was going to
That's
be
happened.
right one sort of thing and then it wasn't and it took weeks. But then I've also like I had a student this semester who like literally had her father was murdered, like murdered, and that's crazy. And so, like, for me to say, I'm sorry that you didn't process the trauma of your father's murder fast enough to, like, submit your paper by the deadline, like, that's just cold hearted. But
Yeah, but did it meet your threshold for
that was appropriate trauma. It was. It was. Yeah, I would like to say that that student self disclosed all of that to me, and I
yeah.
didn't ask them for that information because that is wildly inappropriate. And when they did, I connected them to a lot of our like mental health services at the
hmm
college because that's what they're there for.
Yeah, 100%. And they're also in the syllabus. You could have just said it's in
It's
the
in the
syllabus.
syllabus. I don't care about your father's murder. Oh my God.
That's
I know.
unfortunate.
It was terrible. It was terrible. It's not the first time that's happened, but it did happen
I've had to deal
recently.
with something similar and just building in like an incomplete. And like I put it this this is more complaining about like other faculty, but I put in the incomplete and I was just like
I'm sorry.
I as the instructor should be able to like judge whether or not this is an appropriate situation for a student to get the incomplete. So I just put like the student like cleared like talked with the
Yes.
instructor and
Right.
like clarified what was going on. And like my chair denied it, like denied the incomplete. So I had to
That
send an
feels
email
right.
just being like, at what like to what extent do I need to explain the student's personal trauma for you to be okay with me as the instructor making a
Yes.
professional call about like
Yes.
when a student can finish the work for my class?
Oh boy.
You know,
Oh my God. Well, that's all I have. Do you have other stuff?
I had a couple notes about like the 15-week schedule and like what kind of stuff do you put on that? Like, do you
Okay.
map out your schedule for
I
students?
think that depends very much on the instructor. I have like weekly goals, and I call them
Oh,
goals
that's
because I'm
fun.
like literally never on time. But I end my like I finish by the end of the class. Like I've covered everything I need to cover. But I know some instructors have at the beginning of the semester what topics and they're going to
hmm
cover and what homework assignments they're going to be, and I think that for me it makes the most sense to be flexible because sometimes I'm literally putting together assignments that I thought would be a great idea like 20 minutes before class. I'm like struck by inspiration and I don't need all those rules for myself.
I've got my shit so
I
streamlined.
know you do. I know you're so
Yeah,
anal.
I've literally got like thank you. Uh the week, date, and day like set up in one like set of columns, and then I've got like the pages that we're covering out of the textbook, and like and also like in bold like a little bit of what the content is too. So like it's not just like
Yes.
they don't have to just look at the pages. They can be like, oh, we're talking about motion graphs today. I've got a column for the video on YouTube that is associated with the class recording in case I miss class and need to catch up that way. And then I've got like the practice assignment set up, like which practice assignment it is. So like I've got so much detail on there.
That feels right.
Yeah. But I also build in dead space for the unexpected is what I called it, because that was a name for a short story I read in college and I
It's
really liked it.
perfect.
So it's my snow day insurance, is my dead space for the unexpected. Like
I have like just random video assignments that I will send out on those days.
that's so
That
funny.
is my dead space for the unexpected.
I have a good idea now after doing this for 4 years of like what's gonna fit in a day. And so like I just
Yes.
have each day packaged and I get to just show up with it.
So, you know what I think is funny is that you and I naturally run out of conversation 50 minutes into this every time. And I think it's because all of our adult lives have been divided into 50-minute chunks of time. I think we are like,
Yeah.
I think we automatically and unconsciously do everything in 50-minute chunks.
Yeah, I didn't even have anything else. Like that was kind of it, and it was a small note, and I was just curious what you did, and it's clear that you're just like, I just go with the flow.
I
That's
do. I do.
that is not me.
It's
Um,
not a lot of people, though.
yeah, well, I think like it was funny that it's a 50-minute. Like I noticed it too, which is why I had our sign off, which is like, oh, you got another class in 10 minutes, like time to get back to work, right? Like,
Exactly. It's real.
yeah,
It's real every time.
it's real.
Oh my gosh. Well, I think that
All
feels
right.
like a natural end. So thanks for joining
Yeah.
us for another
Thanks,
episode
everybody.
of Coffee Break Classroom. Come on, close it. You didn't close it. It's the 10.
Yelling. I'm not closing it. You're recording.
I know, but you're supposed to say brood for higher ed.
Oh, Brute for Higher Ed. Sorry, I thought you were yelling at your computer, and I was just
No,
letting it
I was
happen.
yelling
Like
at you.
that was just. You're like, close it.
No, no.
Turn off the recording.
All right. Thanks. Bye.